If you can dream it, you can do it, nothing's too far. You're a shining light, you're a shooting star. All you need is faith and the will to...
Hello and welcome again to another episode of the Connection Currency. Okay, I'll just step through our disclosures and everything. We're all adults, so language can get used on these. I don't edit. Nothing is polished, edited, or anything here. It's as you get it. So there could be language, adult language use, so there might be a swear word or two. We could also talk about things that could be triggering. So if any of those things offend you or you're triggered by certain things, maybe watch the transcript. And then if you're okay, have a listen to what we talk about. In our world full of noise and hustle, I always believe that real growth for businesses and organizations comes from deep connection. It's not that performance where we're just shoving our business cards at each other. Um, it's what lights us up. It's those things that we talk at a deeper level when we're connecting with people. There's a whole thing around know, like, trust, but how can you trust somebody and recommend them if you don't know them and know them really? If you're just pushing your business card at them, how are you getting to know them? So while some of us are growing quietly, some of us are tired, and some of us are succeeding beyond our wildest dreams, we're still doubting ourselves. There's still imposter syndrome. So all these things I think are important to show that vulnerability and that authenticity when we connect with people, because when we connect with people, we create alignment. And my wish is for everybody who comes on and listens to us that they feel connected or empowered or inspired, and that we're creating that aligned community where you can connect with somebody and you feel like you kind of know them already, and it drives that collaboration with others. So yes, I just want to know what lights people up, what keeps them going. So we're going to ask those questions, and I'm really excited to have someone here today who's not sort of a business owner. So it's a little bit of a different thing we're doing today, but this is all around our business support month, coming off the back of Small Business Month. We're doing a business support month, and these are all the things that we should talk about. So this is one of those things that are those things that are hidden behind that we don't talk about. So what might that be? So I'd like to welcome Michelle Ingram to the Currency Connection podcast. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Robin. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Okay, now we're not going to tell anybody. We're going to let them figure it out. So we'll talk through it. So your journey, and I can see there's a bank symbol in the back, and it's not all about the bank, but your journey to what you're doing that you're so passionate about that lights you up. How did that come about?
So I've obviously worked in finance for a little while and banking, and I've always been a numbers person. And I guess I wanted to be able to help and connect and do something a bit differently. So about, what are we now, 2026? So it would have been about 9 years ago. I actually volunteered to be on I guess the state committee for women in superannuation. And what that organisation does is, I guess, two things. From a national level, the organisation is there to help better retirement outcomes for men from a policy advocacy perspective, and the second part is to help networking and professional development for women in the industry itself. I was always working, I guess, more the banking side, but they're very closely aligned to superannuation. So I thought, all right, I'll give it a go. I had never really run an event in my life, and I thought, this is something that I can learn some new skills and see if I can help. So that's sort of how that all started, and yeah, it went on from there.
And that's evolved too.
So it's evolved to, so I'm now, or have been, the Queensland chair of Women in Super since 2020.
Mhm.
That was a fun year, as we know, and especially running events. And then at the end of last year, I was actually appointed to the national board for Women in Super. So I'm now a board director as well, which is fantastic.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, and being so there's a lot of people that go, "Oh, how do you get on a board? What's a board like?" And any of us who've been on boards, be it as a director or non-executive or executive or non-executive position, we know there's challenges. What keeps you going? What keeps you going and pushing through when there's tough things to talk about or hard decisions to be made or those challenges are there? What keeps you powering on and not walking out and deciding you don't want to be on that board anymore?
Yes, I guess, like I said, I'm very passionate about, wanting to help, I guess, better others, whether it be in this case their retirement outcomes, but particularly around finance. Let's face it, no one's taught how to manage their finances at school, and then we all become an adult and have to act like an adult and pretend to know what we're doing. So it's something that I've always been passionate about. So you're right, there are plenty of tough times and tough days, and as you know, particularly being on a board or a committee. But I guess I just constantly think back to this, why am I here? This is the reason I'm here. I'm trying to make a difference. Yeah,
Yeah, make the
absolutely.
world a better place. And and we've had that conversation that the young ones sort of go, "Oh, superannuation, do I need to put money in it?" And I have a girlfriend that will never let me live it down. That I didn't force her to join the super when I joined, and she waited the 3 months or whatever it was, and her super was then a different super. And our outcomes, like we're both now 60 plus. We're in
Yep.
that our number starts with six. And our outcomes have been, I can't believe how different the outcomes have been from just 3 months. So it's that whole and I have a separate account where I did put separate money in than my government paid contribution. Um, so I can look at that separately. I can look at the account that I set up, and that was a staff provident. That's how old that account was. And I had
Yes.
to transition and turn that over and roll it over and do lots of different things as they eventually did away with that and had a standard super across everybody. But our outcomes and our financial difference, it's significantly it's a significant difference, and she's like, why didn't you make me join that 3 months earlier? And I'm like, well, you were hell bent on buying clothes and new things. And I just went, well, if they say we've got to be part of this, I was very much, I need to get used to having this money and not having this money right from the start. I need to get used to whatever I need to contribute. I need to do that right from the start. Um, and she wanted those 3 months of grace just to I suppose get work clothes and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and that what that 3 months difference did and changed. Even though the super system, it was cut off. It was cut off a month after I joined it, that staff providence. So she had to join the normal super and it had to grow.
Right.
But yeah, but there's a lot of women my age, and I've got a lot of girlfriends who are divorced through no fault of their own and things like that. And super's been something that they've never had.
Yeah.
They've come from working for a few years into having children and raising their children. So these discussions and I think these discussions are important with younger people too, not just people my age who will be still in the workforce, like putting extra money into super and those extra contributions you can make that from tax and things like that. So I'd love to talk about that. There's I know there's one where if you haven't put money into super for a while, you can put money into super for a certain amount. Up to a certain time or whatever, those things are important. And with younger people, if you can put away a little bit, like even a cup of coffee makes a difference a week. Yeah.
It does. It does. I guess it's the power of compounding, isn't it? Power of
Yeah.
compounding interest. And look, I guess full disclosure, obviously I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving
Yeah.
advice here, but
No, I know.
I guess, you know, the one thing that really I always say to anybody that I meet, not just my own clients or customers, is by saying to them, A, do you know how much you've got in super? And B,
Mm,
do you know what it's invested in or where it is?
yeah,
And they're the first, best starting points. And
yeah,
no matter what age you are, because as they always say, the best time to start was yesterday, the next best time
yeah.
to start is today.
Today.
So, so no matter what age you are, and obviously there are times when regulation changes, which is obviously what's happened between you and your friend.
Yeah,
There's been a regulation change in that time, and it worked well for you, but not for her. And look, that's
yeah,
fine. That happens. But life moves on, and
yeah.
all you can do is keep trying. So, but I agree. If as long as you know what you've got and where you've got it, from there, it's okay. You need to then understand, what does that mean for you? Now, there are plenty of online calculators and things like that that can help, but if that's really not your mindset or your forte to look at, numbers like
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
even just phoning your own superannuation fund. Most superannuation funds have financial advisors that will help you, or even just, any general advice that they can help you with. And then from there, if you decide to do anything further, then yes, obviously you would need to seek financial advice, and that's generally a fee for service.
yeah.
But still, it's more about the awareness, because I think a lot of people actually don't have that awareness.
Mm,
And the other thing that concerns me a lot is particularly with young people. I find a lot of young people will say to me, "Oh, that's not my money until I retire." And I
yeah.
say to them, actually, it is your
Yeah.
money. It's your savings plan for retirement. So
Mm.
it's very important. Yeah. So it's just that mindset of, making sure that you realize how important it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. I look at those friends that I've had for a long time where we would have we would have those discussions around different things, investments and things like that. And I'd say to them, "Well, what about your super? You know, when we were all having kids, sort of thing.
Yep.
What about your super?" And they were like, "Oh, that's not going to count for a long time." And now they're going, "Oh, well, my super's going to buy me this, and my super's going to buy me that, and I'm going to have
Yep.
holidays here, and I'm going to do these things." And it's that realization that some of them are sort of going, oh, maybe I should have put away a little bit more a long time ago, and I did have a male friend of ours said to me, I wish we would have talked more about that when we were in our 30s. Talk more about that because I was kind of interested, but I didn't want to seem too interested about that when we were talking about it. But I was kind of interested, and I made that comment because when we were in our 30s, going out for coffee became a thing. Like now it's just cafes everywhere, but back then it was like let's go and get a coffee somewhere. So it was like a bit of an outing.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and I'd say, how many times and you kind of did get a bit addicted to it, and then it became a thing where every morning you pick up your coffee on the way to work. It was like all of a sudden it just became a thing.
Yeah.
And I used to say, those cups of coffee, what about if you took one of those and just put that extra into your super week? And he was like, I actually listened to that and I actually did that. And I'm pleased
Great.
I did that because he compares how much extra he's put in to how much somebody else he knows hasn't put in, and they were on the same plan. So that, like I'm like, oh, that's good. At least somebody in my 30s listened to me. But
That's
yeah,
good.
so yeah, yeah. So how do you get out and spread the word? How do you connect with people? What are those things that you do to connect on that authentic level? I know we met at a small networking
Yep.
thing, and I love those networking things that Joe Stevens runs. We've had Joe on,
Yep.
and it's fantastic because you're not just getting up and introducing yourself to a whole room. You're actually getting to know people, and that's the whole idea behind her networking thing. So besides that, what other things do you do? How do you spread the word and get out there?
So I just need to move because this light
It's
actually went out.
okay.
So you got a moment?
That's all right. We're good. These things happen.
Okay, it's back on.
Yep. That's
Gotta
okay.
love energy saving lights.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Um,
good. Yeah, you just got to move it. Like, yeah, it's really
exactly,
funny, isn't it? Yeah.
exactly. Look, I guess to start with, in relation to networking, I know this surprises people now, but it's actually something that I'm terrified of doing. And about, I don't know, I think it was about 18 years ago, I said to my hubby at the time, because he's always very confident, and he's, he did debating at high school and things like that. And I said to him, I said, I want to be able to do more networking, but I'm just terrified of,
Yeah.
going out there, I'm terrified of public speaking, and I'm terrified of doing this, but I want to do it because I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
And so he actually got us to join up to our local Toastmasters club.
Mhm.
And so we ended up being in Toastmasters for, it was about a decade. And I loved it, because I'm not sure if you've ever been in
Yeah.
Toastmasters, but it's one of those organizations where you're not competing against anybody except yourself.
Yeah.
You learn both prepared speeches, impromptu speeches, dealing with objections, and you get valued by other people in your club, but it's to help you. And it helped me immensely. And I am still terrified when I go to a networking function or do public speaking, but I know the techniques now, and that's what gets me through. So I guess that's where I started. And then I just thought, okay, I'm just going to go out there and just say yes to whatever I can in relation to networking, and see where I can find my jam, if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
find where it works for
Yeah.
me. And
Yeah.
I went to a few bigger events, and I thought, oh, that's a bit scary. Wasn't really for me. And I agree with you that, going along to those smaller ones where you can have coffee catch-ups, where it's, up to 20, 30 people,
Yeah.
and you can just have genuine conversations with people. I realized that that's me,
Yeah.
that's exactly how I like to do that. So yeah, I'm not someone that enjoys going into big crowds. Mind you, with Women in Super, I do a lot of a lot of public speaking and
Yeah.
emceeing, and for bigger
Yeah.
crowds, and I just do it and freak out, but that's okay. Freak out
I
behind the scenes.
to be
Um,
honest, anybody that I know who speaks professionally, and I do speaking gigs professionally as well. When it's a topic that you know and you love, it is really easy to roll and speak about it, but there's not one of us. I haven't come
mm,
across anyone that I know that said yet, oh my God, look at the size of that crowd. Like, take a deep breath. Like, let's just roll, like I find it more confronting when I'm speaking in front of people who know me. Because
true.
people
Yeah.
who know me will make a funny like face at me or do something, like or throw a curveball that they think, well, she hasn't had this one before. Let's I know her and I can get away with this sort of thing,
Yeah.
at question time. So yeah, I probably these days find that a little bit more confronting because
Oh,
also they
absolutely.
know me, and also you have to change up that general spiel that you will do when you get up there, because you just usually just roll through what you normally say.
Hmm.
So yeah, I have a couple of friends who test me out. One recently said, "Come along to our breakfast thing. I want you to speak about something totally different that I've never spoken about before." And I'm like, "Okay, okay."
Yeah, thanks for that.
You
Exactly.
do it because
And
they're a friend. You don't do it because
yeah,
necessarily yeah. But those small groups are good too, that you can
yeah,
hone. You can see when people lean in where they're
exactly.
interested, so you can hone what you're saying to the next time when you deliver that, and that will also help you when you take a stage and talking to other people. You know those particular words will resonate more with them than others. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I'm a big believer, you mentioned imposter syndrome before. I think we all suffer from that in some degree. And I think a lot of that was my issue as well, as I didn't realize that the knowledge I had was beneficial to anybody. I thought no one will think that's
yeah,
great, and going to smaller events where you can really talk to people and get to know them. And as soon as I talk about what I do and I realize that people are interested, that in a way cures my imposter syndrome, because I start to think, oh, okay, what knowledge I have actually is
mm,
important and interesting to other people. So
yeah.
that's great.
And valuable,
Yeah.
and valuable.
Yeah.
You can see that own value in you. I think that helps sometimes. You can see that own value in yourself, that
Mm,
life mission that you've kind of made it,
yeah.
in what you do or what you're passionate about. People see when things light you up. I know when I go to networking things and they go, oh yeah, I just do this, and they shove me a card. It's like
Yeah.
nothing is lighting them up. It's
Yeah,
And
it's sad, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I like to get into the deeper conversations about trying to find out what lights them up and, why they're feeling the way they do. Are they going through challenges sometimes? It might be just that normal thing lights them up that they're going through a challenge on the day they come across you. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, and I half expect when when someone first says, "Oh, so what do you do?" and I talk to them about, "Oh, I work in banking and superannuation." I expect them to just groan at me, but they
yeah, oh,
don't.
switch off. Switch off. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, they most people. Obviously, I'm coming across like I am passionate because most people will continue the conversation, so that's always nice.
Yeah, well, I could see the passion in you, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." Whilst
Yeah.
lending is important, and anybody who wants to grow financially, and I'm not a financial planner, but I can tell you from my age, from experience, anyone that wants to grow financially, you've got to look at you know, using other people's money, I like to say.
Yes.
So just sort of segueing into that, clearly you work for the National Australia Bank. I'll put it out
Yes.
there the symbol if nobody's seen it. I'm just waiting for someone to come crashing through that symbol, like the ad. I'm loving their ads.
I
Um,
promise you that won't happen. Yes.
and
But yes, the ads are pretty quirky. I like
yeah,
that.
so obviously superannuation, whilst you're passionate about it and you love numbers and things like that, you obviously know from a banking perspective and being a lender that the power of superannuation can also help you grow your other investments as well when you want to get funding and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess gone are the days of the great Aussie dream where everybody retires with their house paid off and owned outright. And yes, there are some people that are lucky enough to do that, but the age of a first home buyer is just getting higher and higher. I believe I was reading stats the other day; it's up to the late 30s now as the average age of a first home buyer. And you think, well, you know, they hopefully will have it paid off by the time they retire, but potentially they may not. So
Yeah.
this is where it comes hand in hand that superannuation is so important so that you still have something in retirement if
Mm,
you haven't fully paid off your home loan,
mm,
and then you've got decisions you're able to make whether you downsize, whether you use a bit of super to pay it off, whether you just take your income from super and continue paying your home loan as you normally do. Whatever it is,
mm.
there's so many things you can do, but it just gives you that power,
Yeah.
that you've got both working for you. So, but yeah, I'm as much as I work in a role of I sell home loans for a living. I'm very big advocate for helping you actually own your home. So, you know,
Mm.
I'm happy to give you hints and tips in relation to this is how you pay it off a lot quicker, and this is how you pay
Yeah.
less interest, and because it's important.
Yeah. Well,
We want
that
people to have
compounding.
that.
Yeah, that compounding works
Yeah.
both ways. You can grow with compounding, and it
Exactly.
works
Yeah.
both ways. Like, and recent interest rate rises, and I'm sure they're tipping two more. Like, I'm I lived through the 17 and 18% interest
Yeah.
rate rises where we were like, we just need to keep our home. We need to do everything we can just to keep our home. And I lived through
Yeah.
those interest rate rises, and I'm sort of seeing 6% now going 6%. What if it goes to 18? Um, and it's those things that you can do that paying off that little bit extra can make a huge difference, but it can also save you in times if times do get tough,
Absolutely.
where you can have some options around that. And I always say to, clients of mine that are looking at different things, I always go and say to them, go back and talk to your bank
Yep.
and see if your bank can, they'll talk you through some options of what you might be able to do. Um, and I mean, I've seen it not so long ago. Some neighbors of ours, like we all get to that point where we downsize because, my gosh, our house is a thumping family home, and I have that problem where we need to downsize. It's just too
Yep.
much space, and someone else needs to love it and make it a family home with lots of noise again. Um, but I've seen where neighbors of mine have had to downsize because they didn't have enough money, and they were looking at
Yeah.
retiring, and that was how they were going to sort of pull some money together and
Okay.
downsize, and they didn't want to. They didn't
Yeah.
want to downsize. Like they wanted to keep a bigger home, and luckily for them, they have grandchildren, so understandably, but ultimately that's what they had to do. They had to downsize for that bit of kick. So um, I mean, again, I'm not a financial planner. I just know what has worked for me. But the one thing I say
Yeah,
to people, the one thing that I have said to my children that I wished I'd have done, and it sounds funny, but when I paid off a loan, and yes, even at 18%, if you scrimp and go without, when those interest rates come back down, if you keep putting that money in, it makes a huge amount and you can pay off a loan that I
yeah,
didn't, or when I paid off a certain amount of it, that I didn't borrow again or borrow for something else. And people go, oh my gosh, like you're just borrowing on borrowing. But no, you're building assets and
ab-
you are building
absolutely.
assets that you can then, if you have investment properties and things like that, you can sell them and pay your capital gains, take the profit, move on to something else. And I've said to my kids, my only regret is that I staggered for 5 years. Like we didn't immediately borrow for something else and do something else. We waited for a while. And I mean, in that time, properties went up as well. So that would have been capital gain money that I would have made as well. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I always think borrowing is a great investment, long-term investment strategy.
Absolutely. And look, I look at it, I feel like people sort of are in sort of three stages. Obviously, you got your first home buyers where they're needing to make that jump into, okay, I need to just buy first
Yeah,
home,
yeah,
whatever it is, whether it be an apartment, small house, whatever it is. And whether it's very outer suburbs because that's what they can afford, but at least they've got their foot in the market, haven't they?
yeah,
So um, I guess you've got, I guess that tranche of people where everybody says it's very hard, and it is, but it was hard for me. It was hard for you.
mhm, yep,
It's
yep,
hard to pay rent that keeps going up. It's hard to save money to buy a house. But all I can say to that is you choose your hard.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
one do you want to go for? Because they're both hard.
yeah,
But once you've got a property, you've then at least got the ability to build up equity in a
yeah,
property. Because you're right, the next step then is, I'm seeing a lot of people now that actually have a lot of equity in their property because the market value has gone up, and
mm,
they're able to then use that, as you said, use that equity to buy an investment property, and the income from that also helps them pay down
yeah,
their own home loan, so
yeah,
so it, it,
yeah,
it helps them get ahead. And
yeah.
a lot of people don't realize that it can help them get ahead. and
Mm.
and and then you've got that third, like you said, the downsizers where they're sort of going, okay, we're getting ready to retire, don't need the big house anymore, don't need to clean the 5 bedrooms anymore. um and and it's then a case of, okay, and don't forget, downsizing doesn't mean that you sell something for more than what you pay for something
Yeah.
else, because you
Oh,
might
yeah.
find a very nice apartment or something in a nice area that ends up pretty much being the same as your house value anyway,
Yeah.
or not
I
much different.
know. Well, that's
Um,
one thing that
a
we've
lot of people
actually
forget
looked
that
at.
as well.
Yeah, where we want
Exactly.
to downsize, when we were aware of that, where we want to
Yeah.
downsize to, we'll probably end up swapping our house for
Yes,
smaller,
exactly.
something smaller, but the lifestyle, more of
Yeah,
a lifestyle instead of, and I know this probably sounds funny to younger people, but instead of living in suburbia, a lifestyle that will see us through to
yeah,
maybe other options, but get us used to living in a smaller
exactly.
space as well. I think you
And
just
less
spread
maintenance and
out, and we've
everything.
we've
Yeah,
done that. You just spread out. You've got big pieces of furniture, and yeah, big pieces of furniture that are hard to move when you're trying to clean around them, and those sort of things. And you look at what you really need. I think that it's not just a minimalization thing. You see things that are important. Yeah,
yeah.
and it's another it's what do they call it? The third chapter. It's another
Yes,
lifestyle. It,
that's
it's
right.
it's okay, I've had that second chapter. What do I want my third chapter to look like? I want to be able to easily lock up and go away if you like to travel like me, or
Exactly.
I want to be just close to the beach that I can go for a walk on the beach every morning and grab a coffee and read a book or whatever, whatever you want to do. But having those
Yeah.
options and I
Well,
feel
that's
that
right.
superannuation has definitely given us those options.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say one more thing, I guess, overarching, because you've got obviously different stages for when you purchase, but don't forget as well that, a home loan shouldn't be set and forget either. Always keep an eye on, what fees you're paying, what interest rates you're
Yeah.
paying. Talk to your existing bank about, okay, can I get a better deal? And if not, shop around. You know,
Yeah.
definitely don't forget that you can refinance to get a better deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny that friend that I referred to, and she'll know who she is because I know she listens. Um, she was the one who said to me, and we both had homes at the same time, the same age and everything. We both were like, do we buy a house? That's a big commitment. Do we buy a house? But do we pay off somebody else's loan or do we buy a house? And like
Exactly.
in the end, we went, we're just going to have to, you're just going to have to learn to go without. And it's really funny, those things that you think are so important, all of a sudden, you can learn to live without certain things. To get yourself in a position to get a loan, to then be able to pay for that loan. But she used to say to me, so we used to get paid fortnightly. Every fortnight, she would go to, and you used to have a slip. So you'd go into the bank with your slip to pay your mortgage, your monthly
Yep.
mortgage, and we were both paying fortnightly because we were getting paid fortnightly. So that
Yes,
actually compounded. Um, every time she went and
absolutely.
took her slip with her payment and made her payment, because we used to get paid in cash, she would say to them, now can you tell me can you put that through and then tell me the balance on my home loan? So fortnightly, it wasn't an easy thing for them to look up. Like we didn't have access on a computer to look it up.
Mm.
Wasn't an easy thing. They were like, oh, well, we have to get somebody else to key their code in so that we can get access to that. And she's like, yep, I'll wait. Can you just write it down and walk out of there? And like, so then I started doing that. I felt sorry for the bank because we used to bank at the same place. That quite a few of us ended up doing that. We were asking, what's our balance? We want to know
I
our
think
balance.
that's great. I think that's great. God, times have changed, haven't they?
19,
Um,
that was like 1980, what's that, 1985.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's a really good point. It's little things
Yeah,
that it's they always say it's those little things that you can create as a habit, and then it just becomes part of your life. So
yeah,
if you can do things like paying weekly or fortnightly as opposed to monthly, it's simple math. You've got 12 months in a year, but you've got 26 fortnights in a year or
yeah,
52 weeks in a year. So you're paying an extra fortnight by doing that.
yeah,
If you can round it up, if your repayment is $800 a fortnight and you can afford 900 or 1,000, but just by rounding it up, if you can afford that, do it,
yeah.
because you will save 50,000 in interest
Mm,
on the amount of your home loan, and you'll pay it off years earlier than you
yeah,
thought. So it's amazing the little things you can do,
yeah.
to help pay
To
down
do
your
it.
loan. Yeah.
And it was funny because we used to compete. How much do you owe? Because we
Well, that's
borrowed the
good.
same amount. We borrowed the same amount. It was like, how much do you owe? Well, I think I'm going to pay this much extra this week. And then so it became a little bit of a competition. So we were always trying to, owe less than the other person, which was great. Like it was a win-win.
This
And
sounds
we'd always
fantastic.
talk
I think
about
we need
it.
to do this for everybody. It's
And
almost, you think about it, it's almost like when you want to do an exercise program or something, you need someone to be accountable to, it's like
accountable
you've done
to.
that. It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I like
exactly.
that.
So yeah, was she hating me? But I think she was always trying to get even on the super thing, And-
Gotcha.
but yeah, we used to and it was funny because for a while we worked we started work in the same area. So for a while we
Mm.
worked in the same area, and then we sort of drifted to different areas, always stayed friends though.
Yeah,
Um,
nice.
but we'd have those conversations. Oh my God, I love that dress, or I love whatever. And it was like the other person would be going, do you think you really need that? Like we were checking each other,
That's
like I remember
great.
going with her to buy this watch she'd lay by and paid off. I'm like, do you really need, and she was justifying it, not just to herself, but to me, why she really needed it. But it made you stop and think every time you went to make a purchase. Um, I'm going to have to answer to that other person. So, so it was quite good, like,
Actually
yeah,
quite funny. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Maybe
um,
maybe we need to start recommending that to people. You need to have a buddy
yeah,
that you check in
yeah,
with.
well, I'll check in buddy on lending or
Yeah.
something like that. I mean, all those things that we used to do, and I mean the 80s is very back when we look at when we look
My
at,
light just went out again. Hang on a minute.
yes, okay. When we look at decor and stuff like that, the 80s is very back and very on trend. But we used to go to each other's places for dinner, or we go to one person's place for dinner and another person's place for dessert, and play board games and boring stuff. Excuse me, boring stuff maybe like that, but they were our levels of entertainment because everything was expensive to go to. So then when we did go to something, some sort of paid entertainment, a band or whatever, it wasn't like something that we did once a month. It was something that we really enjoyed.
Exactly.
Because we
Yeah,
worked hard
exactly.
for it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's right. So, but no,
yeah,
I love the buddy system. Maybe we need to bring that into banking more often, don't we?
yeah,
Have a
yeah.
buddy system. I
Well,
love it.
I can give a shout out to someone else I know who was on just the other day. Um, and so she'll, when I say on the other day, I spoke to her the other day, but she will come up in the May small business is this young lady. Her
Oh,
name is
yes.
Molly Benjamin. Have you heard of her?
Yes, I have.
So
Yes.
she calls it the Ladies Finance Club. And when I discovered her and I
Yes.
was telling her about things like that, she was like, yeah, these are the conversations we need to have more of. So I love her book, but for young ones, so she talks about drinking champagne on a Prosecco budget, and she talks about those hard conversations because I think money is still something that people don't often feel comfortable talking about. It's
Yeah.
still one of those
Agree.
sort of taboos. But if you can have close people close by that have got your back, and you can have those conversations, I think everyone can benefit out of it. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I love it. I think it's great. And then it comes back to that whole connecting with people again, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, if you can connect with them on a deeper and you have that same goal. So business works the same way. If you have those
Mm,
goals to grow your business, who are you looking to collaborate with? You want to collaborate with good people who have got the same morals and values as you. And I think that all fits in nicely,
yeah.
who do you trust? And I know I will contact friends and say, I need this done. Who would you recommend? Before I would
Exactly.
just hire somebody for anything really, because I trust their opinions. They have the same values as me.
Mm.
So yeah, so in the banking sector and the superannuation sector, is there anything else that we need to know? What's happening? Is there something you want to talk about?
Look, I think the main thing is you know, I guess I just wanted to portray that, even though, we work in banking and we work in super, we're not scary. You can come and talk to us. We want to help you, and particularly because we want to help you get ahead. So I guess that's something that we understand, that it's not just talking to you about, loans and finance and super and all those sort of things.
Mm.
It's helping you with your family and your financial future and your livelihood. That's what's important to you, and we understand that. So yeah, I guess that's the main thing, is just don't be scared to talk to us because we're all human beings just like you. and
Yeah.
and we have that expertise where we can help you, and you just never know, how it's going to really improve not just your finances but your family and your lifestyle and your home. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any advice you could give to somebody how they could prep before they came to talk to you about borrowing? Is there some techniques that you suggest to them?
Yeah, look, and like I said, there's plenty of, online calculators and things these days, but if you're really not sure where to start, I mean, I actually don't even mind if somebody literally just reaches out and says, "Can we just have a chat?" And then I can help guide them with, "Okay, this is what we need. This is what the calculations look like." Because that's our expertise. We don't
Mm.
expect everybody to know, okay, I need to have my most recent two pay slips or my most
Yeah.
recent, tax return, or, everybody's different depending on what their scenario is. So I'm more than happy just to even have a chat to start with. I'd rather talk to somebody before they even start looking at what property they can buy, because I would hate to have someone, sign a contract, come and see me, and then I say, oh, actually, it's not going to work. I want to be on that journey, and most banking people are like me. We want to be on that journey with you, because we find it actually fun and exciting ourselves too, but we
Yeah.
actually want to help you and want to make sure that, you know, we're doing the right thing for you. So
Yeah.
so really from a preparation, the only preparation you need to do is either contact your bank, contact me, or you know, so many you know, I'm also a mobile banker, so you know, I can meet you at a coffee shop, I can meet you at your
Yeah.
home, your business, wherever. And there's a lot of people that do the same role as myself that
Yeah.
can come and talk to you, and just happy to start with a chat and go from there. Yeah,
Yeah. That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Michelle. Thanks for talking to us about all things finance and superannuation. I
that's
love
okay.
talking about that stuff, but it's important. It's what we don't talk about. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I'll say bye for now.